Welcome. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Alita, if you'd take roll.
Susan Reeves,
Present.
John Mickey,
Present.
Ken McCroskey,
Present.
Peggy McQuaid,
Present.
Farid Javandar is absent and excused.
Great. We have, excuse me, I have a lingering cough. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve. We didn't have a quorum for the October minutes in November, but we should tonight. Are there any comments or questions about the October minutes?
I'll move approval. I'll second.
John, do you have any comments or?
I was not present in
Oh,
October.
you were not present?
so-
Uh-oh. Then we can't approve it.
Were you not?
Were you not present?
I don't believe I was present in October.
No, it lists you as present. It lists everyone except for me in October.
Okay, great. Then all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? And 1 abstention. Then we have the November minutes. Are there any comments or questions on the November minutes?
I wasn't present for this one.
With you, John, Ken, and Peggy.
I'll move approval.
You want to second that?
I'll second because there's discussion anyway, so I'll second, yes.
Great. Any further discussion?
It doesn't matter.
Immaterial?
I thought the original motion, Peggy had made an original motion that was.
This is item number,
Sorry, item 6A. I thought there was originally a motion by Peggy to just implement everything, and then to implement the entire.
I think it was that she was saying that she would support.
Oh, I don't think you got a second. I think that's.
Yeah,
Right,
there
that's
was
what
no-
happened.
Okay.
It died for lack of
Um,
a second.
And then I couldn't remember if I actually made the motion, but in the end, what's written there is what we asked to be done. So I don't really, doesn't matter to me who the motion is put to. But okay, sorry, I forgot that your motion was not seconded, so it never happened. Okay, sorry.
great. No, it's worth bringing up. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously with 1 abstention. Okay. We come to the public comment portion of our meeting. This is the time when comments can be made on things that are not otherwise on the agenda. There will be time for comments at the times of the individual items. Is there anybody here to comment? Right. Bernard?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. She's working.
All right. Well, greetings from the public. So I'm here today as a representative of the 800 block of Pomona Avenue, where I live personally. We have been concerned on our block about traffic speeds, mostly going to and from the high school or the middle school. Parents kind of bomb down there trying to get to school on time in the minivans. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of new families on our block with small children that have moved in over the last couple of years, and we have a number of concerns. So we asked for a traffic study. I personally asked for a traffic study, and Alita was kind enough to do that in October. The results came back, and really no surprise to me, although I think it did come as a surprise to many people in the neighborhood that the results of the study did not meet the criteria I think the average speed on the end study was like 26 or 27 miles an hour. I've been circulating a petition. I have most of the people on our block who've signed on the petition for some form of traffic calming. A lot of them wanted to appear before the commission and speak on the issue when the commission considered the results of the survey. Unfortunately, and I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but this matter was on the commission's agenda in November, and we did not know about that. We thought the thing was still in process. Aleda had planned to come out and do a follow-up radar gun survey that did not occur before the meeting, and so I'm here to request that we put that study and the issue of traffic calming issues for the 800 block of Pomona back onto this commission's agenda for a future meeting so that, you know, we, the people who live there, can have an opportunity to come down, speak to the issue, hear what the commission's thoughts are on it, and so on. With the understanding that, you know, we're not meeting the criteria, so we're probably not going to get traffic humps, but there are still things that people would like to talk about, and I think they'd really appreciate the opportunity to do that. And I will say, just parenthetically, my timer's not running, Ken.
I'm not running the timer tonight.
I wonder why. Anyway, always, what did they say when I was practicing law? Always look behind you before you knock out a juror. Anyway, what did I want to say? Oh, there were a couple of observations that I had that I'd just like to make now as a matter of public comment. The first one was the little rubber hoses, you know, that they do it with are right out in front of my house. And I did notice on many occasions when I was observing the traffic that people actually slowed down for the rubber hoses because they didn't know what they were looking at. You know, and you'd see people looking and they would slow down and go bump, 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 and then they'd speed up off down to the end of the block. So I have questions about how accurate really these tests are under some circumstances. Second point I'd like to make is that 25 miles an hour on a residential street with small children is very fast. And one of the things we would like to present to the commission is the idea that perhaps the city's policy could be changed, or you know, more consideration could be given to traffic calming, sort of not just for our block, but in a lot of places. I think that's about it for that. Then I'm going to raise a little personal bugaboo of my own, and I'm conscious of the fact that I'm taking up your time. You know, I was really glad to see, and for reasons that I'm sure you will be aware of, that the city has put up stop signs on the bike paths along underneath the BARC tracks. And they're prominent, and you can see them, everybody can see them. There are great big stop signs there. But I personally have observed that very few bicyclists actually stop at these stop signs. And this is a particular problem, or kind of an obsession of mine, because it's really dangerous. Because now, and even made more dangerous by the striping on the streets at these intersections, because they have been striped to indicate to bicyclists that they have the right of way across those intersections in the center of the crosswalks. There's a little bicycle path thing that indicates that that's where they're supposed to go. But the problem is, if you're stopped at those stop signs and a bicyclist does not stop for their stop sign, they come through that intersection at 5 or 10 miles an hour, you can't see them coming. You cannot see those people coming. They're in front of you before you know it. And they think they have the right of way. And for some reason, many bicyclists seem to think they don't have to stop at stop signs. So my request to this commission is, how about looking into some enforcement? I mean, I think it really is time to start, you know, thinking about, now we have these stop signs, maybe we should look into, you know, making sure that people are obeying the law. Okay, anyway, that's it. There was one last thing. I feel like, what's his name on the TV show? If it's possible for staff to give us notice, like when this matter, if the commission decides to put our 800 block issue onto the agenda again, if we could get some advance notice so that I can get word out to the neighborhood so that they can be here, because it is sometimes kind of hard to remember to every Friday, you know, go online, look at the agenda, see what's going on, and make sure we don't miss it again. I really wouldn't want to do that.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And with that, I will bid you a good evening.
All right.
Wonderful time.
Thank you, Bernard. Have a happy
Good to see
holidays.
you, Bernard.
Any other public comment? No? Then let's move right on to the police report.
Great, good evening. I'll just let you know a little event we did tonight, which is the second time we've done it, is Shop with a Cop. And it's where we take some underprivileged children and take them down to Target to do allow them shopping. I think this year Target donated $50 per kid, so they were able to buy something for their family. And then each kid was also given a gift from the police department. So it was a nice event. We had nine kids this year. It was really, really nice turnout. So anyway, over to our police report for November. We had a total of 13 collisions. We had 7 non-injury collisions, 6 injury collisions, 4 hit and runs, 2 collisions that occurred on Marin, and 1 bicycle collision. We had issued approximately 94 moving citations and made 14 DUI arrests.
Any moving citations?
Moving citations were 94. That's all I have for you.
Great. Anything else we can do for you?
No?
How have the special enforcement nights or days gone?
You know, they've gone okay. We did one the other night. Unfortunately, I was dealing with a couple other pressing matters that I didn't get a look at all the statistics, but I think we actually only ended up making 1 arrest. We had a saturation patrol night, and I think we actually only made 1 arrest, and excuse me, I think it was actually for a warrant arrest. I don't think they made any actual DUI arrests.
So it's probably successful. You got the publicity out there and people were aware, hopefully.
Yeah, which is good. You know, around the holiday season, sometimes you'll see an increase in that. But that night, it didn't sound like they were having much a good time trying to find people.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Great.
So
Any other questions?
Are these statistics in any kind of one place, like data month?
they're not. I have to pull these up,
Okay.
generate and manually go through
Okay,
reports for those. Yeah.
okay.
One of my projects, whenever I have more time, I used to have there is a map on the website that has the collisions up to 2009, I think.
Okay.
In general, you know, it's shown by circles. Independent on the size of the circles is the number of collisions. So there is a range.
Okay.
I need to update that map, and
Okay.
there are 3 categories: total collisions, which includes everything: vehicle,
Mhm.
vehicle pedestrian, vehicle bicycle, and then there is a vehicle bicycle and vehicle pedestrian. There are 3 maps
Okay.
that need to be updated, and
Okay.
because the database is from the state of the California Highway Patrol, the statewide integrated,
SWITers, yeah.
SWITers, statewide
Yeah.
integrated traffic.
So your reports
Yeah.
get uploaded into that? and
That report can be
Right.
uploaded.
Okay.
Correct.
There's some things that are not reported that are not shown in the report, but they're minor, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, like non-injury hit and run collisions, I don't believe they track those.
Okay.
Sure. Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Great. Have a great break.
Happy holidays. So let's move right on to item 7A, the I-80 Integrated Corridor Project Wayfinding Plan and Signage, et cetera.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, and good evening, members of the public. It's going to provide a brief report on this, and we have Robert Solotar from Caltrans. In case we have questions, you know, he can actually be able to respond. So, as a condition of approval by the Bay Conservation and Development Commission, the I-80 ICM, which is the Integrated Corridor Mobility Project, was required to provide public access signage and plant removal and maintenance plans in the vicinity of the I-80, 580 on and off ramps in the cities of Albany, Berkeley, and Emeryville. For Albany, this component includes signage around Buchanan Street and the intersection with the I-80, 580 on and off ramps. and East Shore Highway, very close to Buchanan. Caltrans proposed signage that is included in your packet differs from the Albany Wayfinding signage that was approved in May 2013. So the recommendation at this point is that the Commission considers one of the following two options, or if you wish, a combination of the two. Is one, to approve Caltrans design as presented. This option differs from the wayfinding program the city developed with the West Contra Costa Transportation Advisory Committee, WICTAC, study that was approved by Council in May 2013. This action may require action by Council to amend the Albany wayfinding plan, and basically because the Council approved the wayfinding plan in May 2013. The second option is to ask Caltrans to consider the Albany wayfinding design and branding colors that was adopted by Council in the summer of 2013 for implementation at the Buchanan I-80-580 interchange. So as you recall, we actually publicly processed the wayfinding plan. We were contacted actually by Mr. Solotar about 2 years ago when Caltrans found out that it was required that they provide signage along the interchanges for these three cities. And at the time, we were just actually finalizing the WICTAC study, and basically we informed Caltrans that that was happening. It was basically the beginning of this project, and we agreed to be in communication. As the project advanced and our public process also progressed, we were in contact with Caltrans. Actually, in May, I emailed Caltrans and asked if there had been some developments on this, the design process, and I was informed that nothing actually had happened, and it was delayed. But recently, about a month ago, these plans were sent to us, and they're kind of construction ready. They're manufacture ready, and I explained the problem that we're having right now. So basically, we'll have a wayfinding plan, a sign design that was approved by Council, and when we have these signs at the interchange, at the intersection with Buchanan in the freeway, that will defer if we ever implement the other signage. So we have submitted applications for grants for the implementation of the wayfinding. We have not been successful. I was informed yesterday that the last grant that we applied to is a Safe Routes to Transit was not successful. There is some monies that will be left from previous projects on the Safe Routes to Transit pot that the committee will reallocate, and it's possible that Albany get a portion of the funding for only one part of the wayfinding program, and we might have to phase it out. So that's a question for maybe if we are selected to be a recipient. Nothing is sure right now, and we don't even know how much money there is, or if there is any kind of money. So so with that, we don't have any funding for our wayfinding right now. And now that we have Caltrans' proposal, they are going to the I-80 ICM study will fund these signs that you see right now on the screen and in your packet. So we received a letter from from Mr. President Jordan on behalf of the Carbon Neutral Albany that was forwarded to you, is my understanding, and they actually are in support of these signs and this proposal. And basically, that's my report, and I'm happy to entertain any questions. Also, Mr. Solotar is here to answer questions regarding the Caltrans process. One of the things I forgot to mention is that most of the signage is located in Caltrans right-of-way, and Caltrans have defined standards based on an MUTCD for color and size of signage. It might be a little bit difficult. I was talking to Mr. Solotar, a little bit difficult to actually change those signs that are within Caltrans right-of-way, And maybe the only option that we have is that the one that is on East Shore, we might have a chance to actually implement our own sign there, you know, the city wayfinding design. So that concludes my presentation, and if you, I can actually dim the lights a little bit so we can take a look at the signage that Caltrans has proposed and also our signage and see what your thoughts are.
Any questions? Yeah, that's good.
We have, and I can see if I can enlarge the Albany portion. This is Albany, Emeryville, and Berkeley. Seems that we're having some luck here, so. So here's the intersection of Buchanan and the freeway, and here this is the key for the signage. Sign 4, 5, 3, 1-2, 2, and 1-1 are the signs that are proposed to be located in Albany. So here we have, sorry about that. So we have, this is sign 1-1, which is the Albany short line, Solano, San Pablo, Richmond. The signs are for pedestrian and bicycle. It's not vehicle oriented, so the signs, as you can see, where the directions with the arrows, with the streets and, you know, destinations and arrows are 16 inches by 26 inches. The Bay Trail logo is 12 by 12. One of the questions I had with for Mr. Solotar was to see if we could actually have our logo there, like we have the concept in our wayfinding. We don't know that yet. It's a question that maybe you have to ask. Is that right? Correct. Mm-hmm. So there is also this sign 1-2, and that is Albany Shoreline in Richmond. 1-2, west facing and east facing. This is basically sign 2 for indicating the Bay Trail. Sign 3. So, for instance, the sign 3 and sign 3 north facing, I think there's an opportunity for our design to be designed with our design. That's basically my you know. So it is an opportunity. So
I'm sorry, which sign?
this sign 3 south facing and sign 3 north facing. If we have our logo and in the packet, I included our design. That's basically. As I said, our design, the guidelines is up to 5 destinations, no more than that. It is only 1 destination, so it would be a shorter sign too. It's these signs are supposed to be white on green, which is the Caltrans green, the freeway green. That's one thing. So unfortunately, this is the construction plans, and staff was not. We didn't participate in the design process, in the process for this. But I understand that the cities of Albany and, Berkeley and Emeryville did not attend any meetings where the design was discussed. Is that right?
We discussed it with them. We sat down with them at their offices, not in front of a commission, but at the staff level.
But this is the first time I see this sign, so. When you sent it to me.
And that was a failure. My understanding that...
would you please?
Okay, yeah. that definitely works. This project is funded by Alameda County. Depending on which side of the county line it's on, it's either funded by Alameda or Contra Costa County. So this portion was funded by Alameda County. Their consultants were the ones who have done the project design. Caltrans is implementing the project, but it's locally funded and locally designed with Caltrans approval. So it was the county's consultants who sat down with us, with the staff of the various cities. We did have a meeting with Alita to talk about what we might want to put where, and it was my understanding that the consultants were going to take care of getting a plan to the individual cities. And here we are, these many months later, and I find out that that was not the case. So somewhere there was a communication breakdown. Communication could have been better, but here we are now. So we're looking to you for direction on how to proceed as much as we can within the limits of the project.
Could you explain, let the commission know what your schedule is for the implementation of these signs?
This phase of the project is supposed to be done by June because as part of the ICM project, there are various contracts to implement the project, and obviously some of them are ongoing now. You could see the work that's being done on I-80. So this is being done under a contract which is currently underway, and as I said, it's supposed to wrap up by June. In order to meet the schedule, we're hoping to get the signs ordered in January so that they could be fabricated, because they do have to be made to order. These are not off-the-shelf signs. And it's my understanding that Caltrans cannot dictate to a contractor where they get the signs. They get to choose, and they've chosen a sign firm out of Southern California, from my understanding. So they're going to have to be in communication with the sign company to get the signs fabricated, get them up here, and get them installed all before June.
Okay.
So there was an initial meeting for placement in Albany with Alita, but then nothing.
Placement and content of signs.
And
What
then-
the sign should say and what they should point out. The whole idea of the signs is to provide a wayfinding to get people to the Bay Trail along the shoreline. And that is not just for Albany, but the entire Albany, Berkeley, Emeryville corridor. So the idea is to point people from the inland areas over to the Bay Trail and from the Bay Trail into the inland areas.
The meeting, the initial meeting happened about two years ago when we actually got together, or you called me, and then I think I went there. We went to the site, you know, like, or you took pictures. I don't remember exactly, but I remember I was working on the actual location, my personal computer actually at home.
And then the design phase, was Berkeley and El Cerrito involved in that, and we just weren't, or?
The design phase was, as I said, done by the county's consultants.
Okay.
And again, my understanding is that they were circulating the plans, or at least keeping the communities in the loop, and much to my chagrin, I find out that may not have been the case. I will admit, you know, maybe it was one of those cases where everyone was expecting someone else to follow through and it just fell through the cracks. So I have to take as much responsibility for that as anybody.
Is that Kimberly Horn, the consultant? That was
Yes.
Yeah, Kimberly Horn was also only talking to us about the interconnection on the Buchanan marine signals. The signal interconnection. That's what I have emails and proving that they never mentioned the wayfinding. They also talked to me about the terminal at my office to see the traffic moving along the freeway and along San Pablo Avenue, the monitor, Then they actually visited my office to see where the server was and where the monitor will be in my office. But other than that, what they didn't mention, I didn't know that Kimley Horn was in charge of doing that. Otherwise, I would have addressed them. I know a couple of them who are working on this project, actually.
Aleda, do we have construction-ready documents for our signage?
We don't have construction-ready documents for our signage. It was my hope to actually have that portion of our city to actually be handled by Caltrans and just submit our design or our specifications for them through this project, but it didn't happen, so
And I will admit that when I got Aleda's email in May, I interpreted it as, where are we with the project, not where are we with the project and do we have time to alter the design to fit our designs? So,
yeah, it was
again.
miscommunication. Yeah, it was miscommunication. I was the email said that I'm ready. I'm preparing a staff report for the city council to approve our concept design. Because at the time he contacted me, we didn't have any wayfinding. So.
And obviously we misinterpreted what concept design meant to each other.
Yeah, that's right. So now we have, in summary, what we have is right now plans that are ready to be built. We don't have a grant for our wayfinding. We do have a wayfinding plan, and now we have, as I said, we have two options. And I failed to load this staff report on the website because of there was no time. But basically, I kind of like read it through and reported here. Those are the two options, or a combination. Actually, the staff report only says two options, but if you have a combination or another idea, I welcome your ideas too.
One other thing, in case it influences what you decide, one of the, I'm trying to think of the right word, one of the features of this particular plan is an integrated design, not just in Albany, Berkeley, and Emeryville, but also going out to the Bay Bridge Trail and out to the Bay Bridge. All of that segment is a portion of the Bay Trail, that is the shoreline segments and the segment going out to the bridge, and on the bridge for that matter. And so one of the ideas was an integrated sign design that would get people from Albany as far as Oakland and the Bay Bridge. So I just point that out so that you don't feel like Albany is getting short shift or anything, but is actually being brought in on, hopefully you would feel as equal standing on the entire corridor. Because that was really the intent.
I have a question for you, and then the question is, completely lost my train of thought. Are you putting the city? No, again, so no city logos on any city interchange or any off-ramp, on-ramp. It's basically general. Okay.
No, the only logo that's going on these
It's the Bay
signs
Trail.
are the Bay Trail.
So, am I wrong? El Cerrito has a wayfinding program, right? They have signs that
Yeah.
are integrated that have their, how are they, well, the signs are here. So they're participating in this.
El Cerrito is not because, to give a little background onto how this project came about, that is, this portion of the project came about. When BCDC issues a permit, they require that the permittee provide the maximum feasible public access consistent with the project. So we had a project along I-80, which is in what BCDC refers to as the shoreline band, and some of the signs, ramp meters, et cetera, are in that shoreline band. Well, if you're doing that type of project, what is public access? Because there's already a trail, and there's not much room for added improvements without impacting either other facilities or the bay. So the idea was, get people to the trail, direct them to the trail, provide signage so that they can find where the trail is and find their way from the trail. And so that's how this component of the project came about. And in answer to your question about El Cerrito, The only portion of the project that was within BCDC jurisdiction was the Alameda County portion. So they didn't include El Cerrito because that portion of the project is outside their jurisdiction.
So the city of Richmond is part of this? No?
Nope. Because no facilities are going within BCDC's jurisdiction
Oh, I
within the
see.
city of Richmond. Facilities are definitely going into Richmond and El Cerrito, but again, it's outside BCDC jurisdiction, and they can't necessarily require that much additional, because then it could be argued that it's not consistent with the project.
Okay.
Alita, what were your staff report recommended options?
The recommended options were accept the design as presented, which I have to consult with Jeff if we need to go back to the, or maybe just exclude this section from the wayfinding plan that we have for the city. We have, hopefully we don't go back to council, but I have to ask the question. Because it differs. So we do have the East Shore intersection and the Buchanan freeway intersection on our plan that was approved. So I wonder if it would be maybe just a consent item in January, just to say, okay, we eliminate this portion of the plan because it's a Caltrans right of way, and they want their own signs there. The other option is ask Caltrans to consider the Albany wayfinding, which I guess we heard that it's going to be very difficult right now, except for the East Shore one. But again, as I said, I don't know if it's worth it. If they want to make production of signs, like how many signs, maybe 50 signs? I mean, each sign is different, I have to say. So I don't know, that might be everything the same, and when we get the grant to actually change implement our wayfinding, we can actually deal with the East Shore, which is the only sign on this plan that is our right of way, or leave it as is. At this point, I think having wayfinding versus not having wayfinding is much better than,
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
So when you say Caltrans right away, so even if we had our wayfinding, they don't want to incorporate in the project, but could we?
Well, I think I would have.
If we paid for it, we'd have to have Caltrans approve.
Yes,
how we,
when
okay.
even if, let's say that this project does not exist, that there's no requirement to provide access, and we got a grant, or we got some money to actually implement our own wayfinding, we would have to go to Caltrans and ask for an encroachment, submit an encroachment permit, and they would have to comment on our signage, and they could have said, oh, no, use this, because this is our we use white on green background, and it's the freeway green that I remember. One of the recommendations of the MUTCD for jurisdictional wayfinding is not to use the same green that Caltrans uses for their signage. So that's for one thing. So either way, we would have gone to Caltrans and asked for permission to implement signage there. Same way we're going to do it if we do San Pablo Avenue. San Pablo is included in our plan. And then when we implement the signs, because as a Caltrans jurisdiction, we will have to go to Caltrans and submit an encroachment permit. And most likely they will say yes.
But they've done, I mean, we can see that in
El
El
Cerrito,
Cerrito.
yes.
Okay.
And as I said, most likely they will say yes.
I can also add that based on my experience, it's easier to put, for lack of a better term, non-standard signage on surface streets like San Pablo Avenue than within a freeway right-of-way. I could tell you stories about what I've dealt with there, but that would be outside this forum.
Yeah, so that's, so.
How well does this plan mesh with what the Albany plan had planned for wayfinding in this area?
I do have the plan right now.
Well, I'm just asking
Was
for
it in
your
the same
opinion on that.
location or?
We do have a similar location, not exactly the same,
Okay.
but I basically, it's kind of the same location. We actually, Robert and I kind of like went to the site before the wayfinding was finalized, or before our wayfinding was even processed here. So it was, as I said, 2 years ago. We went there, took pictures. I got the pictures back home, send him back the pictures with the layout, and submitted some comments.
Okay.
We took into consideration those same pictures for our wayfinding there. And as I said, right now it's construction plans may differ a little bit from the locations that we suggested, but that's basically the story.
Was the same count? Was it the same number of signs?
Let me.
That's okay. That's okay.
I have it here right
Okay.
now, so let me bring it back. Maybe I didn't bring it, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
Alita, while you're pulling that up, Robert, I just had a question about the hierarchy of the signage here. Are these larger, the signs that are listed as BT-1, are those to indicate that you're actually on the trail? I'm just trying to understand why on some of the signs we have the larger Bay Trail sign and some of them we have a much smaller one that, if I'm understanding it, looks like these may be pointing to how to get to the Bay Trail as opposed to the other ones being that you're actually on the Bay Trail.
I think that's a correct assumption.
Okay. Because my first reaction was to say, why can't we all have just the bigger Bay Trail signs?
But there's some hierarchy there.
Okay. So I'm gonna remove that.
Okay. Is it still possible to change the wording or the details of these signs?
It might depend on what the detail is. If it's a little tweak, yes. If it was a major redesign, it may be too late already. But what did you have in mind?
Well, we're in the portion of this item where we're just allowed to ask questions. I have to open it up to public comment here. So we're going to take a break when we're done with questions, and then I'll come back and ask for specifics later. Sorry, it's just the way we sort of operate.
Okay, well, just to give you an example which might help answer the question, there are a couple of signs that were proposed for Emeryville that say to the destination. Emeryville requested that the to be taken out. That's fine. And that's what I mean by a minor tweak.
Okay. So adding a segment to a sign, for example, would that be possible?
Might depend on how big the wording is and whether it would change the size of the sign.
Actually, I'm thinking of another panel to the sign. So, for example, if there are two or one or two segments now, is it possible to add another segment?
I don't know the answer to that. The only thing that I could say is that I could go back and ask the people who do know the answer to that.
Okay, great.
But, yeah, okay. Now, we receive a public comment, a written public comment with specific, changes by Preston Jordan, and this is the Albany Solace and Rollers, which is a bicycle and pedestrian advocacy group. I don't want to read it here. I can give you a copy of this and see what your reaction is maybe by the end of this week or tomorrow, if you have time.
I could try. The end of the week might be better.
That's fine. I can give you a copy of the comment.
Okay.
Or send it to you via email.
Both?
Both.
Okay. Are there any other questions? No? Okay. So I want to open this up to public comment. Saul, did you want to comment on this item? No? Okay. So we'll bring it back to the commission and offer our opinions. Who wants to kick it off?
Well, I'll start. Unless, John, are you ready?
I'm holding back. Trying to calm down.
I guess I'm not sure there's anything that we can do at this point to change this, and it really doesn't give me a whole lot of heartburn. It seems like every sort of along the I-80 corridor all matches, Albany, Berkeley, Emeryville, so there is some cohesion there, and then more in the, should I say, city, urban part of Albany, we would have our own signage. They would be different, but because there's coordination with the other cities, it really doesn't bother me too much. If we're not putting our wayfinding signs along this area, it would seem like we'd be saving some money that we could use, and even if it's grant money, we could maybe do more with the wayfinding signs that we're designing. But I do think if, at this point, the part that, the two that we could change, if we were allowed to at some point, at this point, I wouldn't want to change them. I think I would want that whole area to be the same. So that, I mean, I'm sure I could be convinced to have them different, but it just seems like this whole area should look the same. So if it has to be this, so be it, and probably lessons learned in the communication that didn't exactly happen the way it might have. And, just move on.
John, did you?
So, I mean, I think I would agree with Peggy. I think this is, as we've talked about on many projects, this is an opportunity to implement something that we just don't have the funds for, and we should run with it. So on that end, I'm really excited. On the other side, I'm a little concerned in that we are just seeing this, and we're essentially being told, approve this or you're going to set back our deadline. And I have some issues with the signage. I agree with Peggy. I think the idea that Albany, Berkeley, Emeryville, all the way through the Bay Bridge, all having similar signage, the same Bay Trail logo, which is different than, I guess not all the Bay Trail logos are the same. I did an internet search because it confused me. Is nice. It'll be consistent. So it doesn't bother me that it's different than what we're talking about doing elsewhere in the city. What I would love to see is a few changes, though. Where we list Solano and San Pablo, I think it would be really important for us to list the Buchanan Street Bikeway or Buchanan Bikeway, whichever way we're phrasing it, because that is, in essence, you can now get from the Bay Trail all the way up to San Pablo Avenue on a separated bikeway.
Is that the bikeway on the south side of Buchanan?
Yes.
Correct. And that crosses Buchanan to get to the bridge that gets you over the railroad tracks and then down into where we're talking about the signage now. And so this may have been where you were going, Ken, in terms of wanting to add another segment to the sign, because it would be important to have, I think, really important to have that Buchanan Street Bikeway. The other item, and this was kind of why I brought up the smaller Bay Trails logo here, is I'm a little bit worried. It really stands out really well in these drawings here, but if this is truly a green sign with a green Bay Trail sign on it, and I know they're different greens, and one's a really reflective green and one's just a dark flat green, I'm a little worried that it's not going to really read that well. And then it also worries me because it's actually not consistent then with the way that it's dealt with in the other two communities of Berkeley and El Cerrito. And I wonder if instead of having the Bay Trail logo, it could simply say Bay Trail Albany Shoreline, or, so it leads you to both, but just simply say to Bay Trail.
So Bay Trail in text rather than symbol.
Correct. I'm just worried that, at different times of the day or whatnot, that logo is going to be, one, it's pretty small. I mean, it's 4 inches, but when you're not right up against it, it's going to be pretty small.
That would be signs also, 4 and 5?
Signs 4, 5, and 3. 3 has a small one as well.
Okay.
And that would make it more consistent with what Berkeley's doing, what Emeryville's doing, that it simply just says Bay Trail and tells you where to go. And I would love to keep Albany shoreline in there as well, if there's space. And then, were we gonna actually talk about Preston's, sorry, what was the shoreline?
We can actually kind of like summarize the points that he makes, and he's going to get a copy of the email, and I'll have a copy right now before he leaves.
Okay.
I was going to bring up item number 1, because I feel fairly strongly about that one. And I think our wayfinding plan would have a strong component of guiding people underneath the overpass. And this does not. So this would be sign number 5, north facing. Would be essentially adding a plate or a segment that guided people to East Shore Freeway, East Shore Highway, underneath the freeway overpass, or the railroad overpass. I think most of what we would otherwise want to implement in this area is covered by this project, which is great. You know, I agree. You know, some signage is definitely better than no signage, and it's consistent with other communities. We have a lot of area to implement our own system when we get the funding for it. But I think that one item, guiding people underneath the overpass, would be my key change.
I think I agree with you, because if it's north facing, oh,
Yeah, because sign 3 will have directed you in that direction to get down there, but then you don't know what to do after that. There would be no sign. If we didn't add it to sign 5, north facing, there would be no sign that tells you how to actually get to East Shore Highway.
sign 5 is supposed to, oh,
There's 2.
oh, okay, yes. So you're talking about the south facing side, or both of them?
I'm talking about the
north-facing.
north-facing side,
North facing sign.
which currently only has a guide to the shoreline.
Because looking at it, I'm thinking the arrow's in the wrong direction.
Well, that's another issue. The arrow is technically correct. Because of the geography, there is a path to the left, but it turns so quickly. It should really be an arrow that reverses
More like a
direction.
U.
Do you
Yeah.
think that it would be possible, Robert, to actually get an amplification of this R intersection and see exactly because it's easier for me to actually see where in the plans you can actually see where the pole is and the sign will be, and actually we can picture better than at this very, very small scale. If I can get a blowout of these signs
Locations?
section, that would be great. I think it's better to provide comments.
So you would like,
This map here, maybe larger scale.
yeah,
Can we get that?
I'm trying to think of how I would do it. What I could do perhaps is blow up the,
No, the engineers could, or the drafter could actually just cut or match a line there and give me the PDF in a different scale.
I
They
could
can do
try. One of the impediments I've been told about some of the sign redesigns, and we may run into that with your request also, is that the county thinks they're done with the design and funds for any redesigns or the plans may
But
not
we-
be available.
I'm sorry, but we've been left out of this process.
I know, and I'm
bad.
going to do what I can
I
to
mean-
see what I can do. I think I could, I think I could take care of the request by doing like a cut and paste and blowing it up. The big problem might be with the scale.
When you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think what
I don't
Elena is
think-
saying is literally cut and paste this,
Yeah,
but
no.
we need a map that actually shows where the pole is being
Yeah,
set,
that's what we're gonna see.
You know, there should be a plan like that.
right?
Yeah, they should.
job.
It's not additional cost. I can ask Randy to actually get it to me. If Kimberly Horn actually did it. It's basically just on an AutoCAD, they will actually just
The detail
screen it,
plan,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a detail.
So a detail plan for
I
that
don't wanna
intersection.
see- I don't wanna see Berkeley and, I mean, in Emeryville. I wanna see just Albany, that intersection. It's only one.
Okay.
It would be better to visualize it actually, like that.
I will see what I can do.
Thank you very much. Just, if they have a problem, just tell them that they didn't meet with us at all. Yeah. So one thing I can do, once I get the plan, I can send them to you, and then if you have additional comments, we can actually just send it to me or forward to Caltrans for additional plate or arrow directionality and things like that, because that's critical, that's crucial for the pedestrian and bicyclists.
And I would
Especially-
also add that that changing the arrow to make it clearer which direction to go falls into the tweak category, which should be eminently doable.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you need a resolution from us, or?
Well, it's just basically, just say a motion that go with the concept that, I mean, the general design that Caltrans is providing, and with the tweaks that we're going into. With an opportunity to comment, at least to have that opportunity right now. Is that, do you want me to, somebody make some motion? If you agree, I mean, I'm not putting words on you.
Okay, let me try.
What?
Or go, John.
I'm not going to make a motion yet, I'm just, or you can make a motion and then we can have a discussion. That's fine. You can make a motion and then we can have a discussion.
I'll move that we accept the concept of the Caltrans signage with the understanding that we need to see the Albany-only section to make any necessary small adjustments.
Discussion, or a second?
I'll second, but
Great.
I'd like to add an amendment.
Okay?
Okay.
That Caltrans consider adding signage for the Buchanan bikeway to the signage that's being shown, and Caltrans consider making the signage consistent with the Berkeley and Emeryville implementation of saying, instead of using the Bay Trail logo, to simply say to Bay Trail. The items that I brought up.
Okay,
On signs 4, 5, and 3.
okay, so you have to, so in the signage for Buchanan, are along Buchanan, the trail, is that what you're
No,
asking?
no, not along, but on these
Okay.
signs, and I can
Adding
list
a
the
plate-
numbers.
Adding a
but-
plate for for the.
But yes, yes. So essentially, whenever Solano/San Pablo is
Uh-huh.
listed, it really should say Buchanan Bikeway as well.
Right, okay, great.
Any
And
further discussion?
someone has to second that amendment, or that amendment doesn't happen.
I can second that.
Great.
So now I think technically the discussion is whether or not you two agree with my amendment, and then we talk about the overall.
Okay, I can support that.
Okay.
Great. Any other discussion?
So my one hesitation before was, so if we approve this and Caltrans, at some point will get back to us and they'll say, we can or can't do these changes. Is this coming back to us, or is this it?
It might come, depending on, it might come back to you either as an informational item, or if it's too many things that they did not agree with, maybe another discussion item.
Okay.
So you, could you repeat again what signs you need the additional, the logo, the Bay Trail logo?
So replacing the Bay Trail logo with text that says "To Bay Trail," and that's on signs 4 south facing, on sign 5 north facing, sign 5 south facing, sign 3 south facing.
Okay, thanks.
And then the Buchanan, do you have the Buchanan Bikeway, which signs that goes on?
The Buchanan Bikeway, 5, I think it was, wasn't it?
Right, well, that'll go on signs, it's essentially wherever Solano San Pablo shows up, so it's sign 1 south facing, sign 2 west facing, sign 4 south facing, sign 5 south facing, and sign 3 north facing.
Okay, that's good. You hadn't said that before.
No, no, it's me.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Motion passes. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
And will it be possible to get a copy of the motion so I make sure I have all the signs correct?
A copy of the motion? Okay, let's see.
Well,
You can, you know what you can do? You can actually go to our website and see the video, and then you will see the motion.
okay.
At least, I think you can actually do it by tomorrow. But before you go, I would like to give you a copy of the comments.
Yeah.
You can actually take this.
Yeah.
So I listed where we need to be trail.
Perfect.
Just circled those to replace those with.
And I'm more concerned about the Buchanan Bikeway, and you've got those, so
Yeah,
perfect.
and I would ask Alita, because I'm not sure if it's Buchanan Street Bikeway or just Buchanan Bikeway. I'm not sure what the title is.
Buchanan Marine Bikeway. It's very long.
Okay.
I'll give you my copy.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Yeah.
With that, we'll move along to item B, implementation of parking permit requests in the city of Albany.
Yeah, in your packets, I actually pasted a copy of an excerpt from the Albany Municipal Code regarding permit parking to refresh our memories, because next month we're gonna, there are two things. We're going to actually tomorrow, there's the subcommittee meeting on Measure D that is basically the parking, number of parking spaces per unit, residential units. Also, it has, so that, the Measure D revision will actually trigger conversations on permit parking. So this is what the municipal code has. I'm sure some of you have been reading this because of the parking subcommittee the item that you're going to update on the municipal code. So just for refreshing of your memory, it's going to be, there are some requirements for the establishment of permanent parking zones. We have to conduct a preliminary study. 50% of the, first of all, we have to identify the problem. There should be a parking problem, either by the lack of available on-street parking and the difficulty of residents of the block finding parking, or a desire to, or the other thing is that basically due to either not adequate parking or the fact that people who don't live on the block park their cars there. So we have to really conduct an analysis. About 50% of the residents should support this request. That's one key issue. And also, the evaluation is to to see if the implementation of a parking permit zone would not negatively impact the adjacent blocks. So we have to, it's a process, and we will basically we will have to start with an analysis, identification of our problem. That is also a problem not only for one person, but for 50% of the people or more of the block. It's supported by 50% of the people on the block. So with that, we will have to recommend to City Council to establish the permanent parking process. And there might be, I think about 7 years ago, maybe 5 years ago or 4, I think the commission was a different commission, so I invited people from El Cerrito, and I don't know if you were part of it. Oh yeah, you attended as an audience. The staff from El Cerrito and also staff from Berkeley to talk about their permit parking programs. They do have a very robust parking program, particularly in Berkeley, which is basically kind of like self-sufficient. They generate enough revenues that it can pay for itself. That's not the case in El Cerrito. It's a smaller parking program, but it's a parking program that is actually working for them. And it was established because of the BART garage, the garage and the parking lot in El Cerrito, del Norte and the Plaza. So commuters were parking around the streets, and the residents got a little bit upset and said, we need a permit parking program. So we do have problems on San Pablo Avenue. For instance, the automobile shops, they actually park in the residential street. So we have a reason, an initial reason for the residents to want to establish a residential permit parking program. That's one thing. And then also there is a cost associated with that. There is monitoring, there is enforcement. There is, in the past, the considerations for implementing the parking program were the lack of staff to actually enforce it. Police department. We're not the size of Berkeley, or we're not the size of El Cerrito, so we're very limited as to what we can do. We can have the parking. What if we have the permit parking, but we don't have enough staff to enforce it? There's also somebody to administer the fees and to keep the accounting of that. Those are the things we need to get into consideration. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't really study it, but there's a lot of homework to do with that. This is basically for initial discussion. There's no action on this. It's more for like food for thought and preparing for next month's meeting, and also for tomorrow's meeting. Whoever is going to attend the Measure D, we can actually review this. When a permit parking program is well established, it's a great program. It works very well for the residents, works very well for the city. It might need that we need maybe a part-time person to, we don't know yet, but we need somebody or assistance to implement this. We maybe find out that we may not, so it depends on the size, and it depends on how big of a permit parking program we want. It seems to me that with Measure D and with some developments in the maybe in the city council policy, I don't know if the council might want to go into paid parking. We might have to do this. So in the next 10 years, you never know. Maybe we can establish a zone, only one zone, and then actually, there are some restrictions to we establish one zone, and I think within a year you have to establish the second one or another one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because we really want to see how it's working. So any thoughts, anything that you might want to ask staff to do before next month's meeting, or?
I asked for this to be on the agenda because a special parking permit zone was brought up at the last meeting. And I wasn't sure if that was appropriate. And having read the city rules on this, I'm even less convinced that it's appropriate. Now I'm starting in opinions, but, excuse me. It is interesting that you can establish only one zone, and then you have to wait a year before you establish any other zones.
And just to verify, this is the actual text that's in the code now, which was written in
And that's basically
58?
one, right. What is it?
1958, maybe?
Yeah, that's one thing that also we need to work on the update
Oh, my gosh.
of this code, you know, so.
Yeah.
I can actually look into the notes and the presentation. Unfortunately, I think the presentation when the City of Berkeley and El Cerrito, and also I presented, I don't remember if the City of San Francisco came, but submitted some kind of summary. We didn't have it televised, so we have to really dig my actual archives. But they're interesting, different you know,
Yeah, and
clauses and
in the time since the city of Berkeley presented to us, they recently, maybe just 2 weeks ago or so, they just changed the way that they do their parking meters downtown. So they've changed the rates, and so they're going to, they used to have more of a uniform rate across the downtown area.
there's
and
like congestion pricing. is it
Yeah,
right
so they've done it more congestion pricing. So
Uh-huh.
there were areas where the prices are a little bit lower because there's usually more turnover or less demand there, and some areas where they've increased the
Yeah.
pricing.
Which is basically a sophisticated way to actually charge for it. And then that's the trend of the future, by the way, so.
I mean, I would say that I think it's a great thing to keep looking into, and I'm excited that this ball is still moving. But I really don't see, I guess I don't see the need for doing that until there's metered parking on San Pablo or in Solano. Because I think that will be the major driver if and when that happens of really needing a permit parking system on the residential streets.
Yeah, that's correct.
I mean, I can think of some spots also where I question, like on Pierce Street, all the parking is, how much of that parking is actually people who commute into San Francisco versus being truly accessible for visitors to the towers or to something else in that area. Or the thing that's come up a few times in terms of the auto repair shops.
Yeah, I
parking
think
cars
that's-
that have been fixed.
Yeah, I think
nearby.
that's a problem that for example, I think Madison, some areas of Washington and Castro, may have, especially the blocks near San Pablo, because they do park there. They do move them though every 2 hours because there is a time, but still, they take the capacity, they reduce the capacity.
Yeah. Saul, did you want to comment on this?
Saul, which item are you here for tonight?
Well, I was going to watch the signs, but on the Pierce Street, the reason we haven't requested permit parking on Pierce Street, the casual car poolers, they do fill in the zones, but there are enough commuters that leave and during the day, and so it kind of works smoothly, and it helps support the AC transit line on the street because it is a major transit route. So it doesn't really conflict if, for some reason, the Pierce Street Park is ever developed in its full sense. Maybe you could have permit parking or time zone parking near the Gateview bus stop so that people who want to walk to the park would be able to use it during the day. But the way it is now, if you started charging a lot, you wouldn't get 50% that'd be willing to pay a permit because they generally can find a spot on the street anyway. So but one other comment, there's so many streets sweeping signs up now that it's not that costly to add permit parking onto the same poles. Whereas I believe there was permit parking, I was on the traffic commission in the 80s, and because the racetrack had a lot of business at that time, there was spillover, and a lot of people didn't want to pay for parking, so they were parking in the Calhoun and along the lower or the south end of Pierce Street, and then walking, and the residents complained about bad behavior by people returning from the track, and I won't mention all the stuff that they were doing, but they claimed that they were doing. But the point was that we put in permit parking at that time, but then as soon as the track usage went down, nobody wanted permit parking anymore, so it just went away. So there was a plan that the Traffic Commission considered in the 80s that was implemented, and they actually paid for the poles to go in and the parking to go in. So it didn't go all the way back to 1958, I think. It was in the boroughs and a few other, I think he was on the commission and he was in that neighborhood. And it was in the 80s that they had it for the racetrack.
Okay, thank you. So, just wanted to review. Comments? No?
Yeah, I agree. In my time on the commission, I only recall one request near Club Mallard, but I wasn't here last week, so I don't know what that, or last month, so I don't know what that one was. But
It was a request for a handicap spot that got a little out of hand.
Oh. Okay. So,
Okay. If there's no further discussion, let's move on to item number C, a report on the UC Village Department proposal.
Yeah, in order to keep the project on track, the developer requested, or basically expressed the need to actually have the Planning and Zoning Commission take action on the plan. And the Planning and Zoning on December 11th reviewed and approved the tentative map and design, mostly is what you've seen before. An appeal is expected, and then I think it will go to council in February 2014. The consultations with Caltrans are ongoing regarding the bicycle track, the bicycle facilities, and the AC Transit bus stop location. And regarding that, the developer is has expressed that his willingness to provide several feet of right-of-way, additional right-of-way that is needed for the bicycle facilities in the stop relocation, the bus stop relocation. Planning and Zoning and Traffic and Safety will receive the updates on the final design early in 2014. That's my report.
Great. Questions? No? Okay, great, thank you. Item number D, report on meetings from the Ad-hoc Subcommittee for the update to the Municipal Code.
Well, when I was reading the permit parking, I saw some people that, oh, you're very familiar with what I was saying, so I guess you guys have research. So, one thing that would be really good to do, actually, and I know that you guys are busy and I'm busy, but I've been thinking about it, is to actually research other cities, what the transportation section of the municipal code looks like, and especially look at the update year, so we know that we're looking at something really more.
It's not 1958.
Not old, but it's a recent document that reflects recent standards. That's one advice. But I mean,
Do we have sister cities or anything like that that are
We
similar?
have comparable cities.
Right.
So do you have suggestions of cities to look at?
well, Emeryville might be good. It's Emeryville. We can do El Cerrito as well. El Cerrito might have an updated. And why not Berkeley? Berkeley is always, they do have a lot of, they update pretty often, and then they go with the trends. So Berkeley, maybe the city of San Francisco, although it's large, but they might have a good circulation element in the regional plan, and also the municipal code, everything related to traffic might be maybe too much for us, but we can actually.
Size it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alameda, even though it's larger, but it might be a good way to look at it. Santa Monica, I don't know, they deal with a lot of tourists there, so.
Mm.
We start with the state instead of going outside of the state. I was going to
Right, well,
suggest,
and-
Portland or something like that, Salem, Oregon, something, but they usually do have good stuff, but I mean.
And most of your suggestions are in Alameda County, which is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Davis might be an interesting city.
The city of Davis, maybe, yeah, that's right.
They're,
In terms of
very
bicycle-friendly measures,
Okay. Unless
about
anybody
if
has
we-
anything to
How about if we
report.
each, I mean, I can look at Davis, I can look at whatever city, or you guys look at Davis, and we can kind of share informally, not at a meeting, but maybe just,
Divide it up?
Yeah. Just get our hands on it.
I don't know,
So
just
we can
start
read it.
somewhere, like
Yeah.
that. And this is going to be in general, the transportation section of the municipal code, whatever, the traffic section, there might be, in Davis, there might be a bicycle section or something. We don't know yet.
Okay. Let's move on to item E.
So tomorrow is basically it's not a report per se, but as more like an invitation that the meeting is tomorrow at 7 p.m., from 7 to 8 is 1 hour. And it's not limited to 2 participants. Everybody is welcome. We're going to have 3 committees, which is Traffic and Safety, Planning and Zoning, and Sustainability Committee. So we do have the 3 committees working on Measure D.
That starts at what time?
7 p.m.
7.
here.
And do we have representation?
It's a
Well-
public meeting. It's already noticed, so it doesn't matter.
I'm planning to go.
I'll be there. But I do have a question on how it works, because can just random people show up each time, and I don't understand where the consistency is, or how any work
Oh.
gets done if it's always different people attending. Does that make sense?
Well, the first meeting is going to be tomorrow, and I think we're going to actually ask those questions, and we're going to have a policy. I don't really know exactly because I'm not the lead on that, or the staff liaison is Claire Griffin, and Jeff Bond. Both of them are actually leading this.
I'm sorry, who was the first one? Claire?
Claire?
Okay.
Claire, and I don't know if Jeff, but I know Jeff and Ann Hirsch will be there, and I will be here too, so.
Great.
So tomorrow, I think we might define who will be the actual representative for each commission, and how many do we need, or if we need all of us can just attend there.
All right. Let's move on to announcements and communications.
I do have something. Yeah. Maybe not announcement, communication. Maybe I'll do it in future agenda items.
Okay.
Well, I have to report. I'm sorry, I have to report that we didn't get the wayfinding grant.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah. The Albany Greenway is completely open again,
Great.
and that's fabulous. We've been waiting for that for a long time. And it's striped in our special way in Albany, and the crosswalks are improved.
Great.
And there are stop signs. So it's great to see that project come through, and the city did a lot of work to make sure that there were accommodations made and to get the path widened, and that's all come to fruition.
That's great.
I need to go there. I haven't really. I tried to avoid it because it was closed and I had to go the reroute, but right now it's open. I have to really experience it.
Well, maybe you and I could meet for lunch one day and walk it.
There you go. Run it. No?
I'll bring my rollerblades.
Okay, right.
Alita, can we go back to the, so just educate me, so the grant proposals that you submitted were not accepted, does that stop it, or do you like wait
No.
for another round or?
No, this is the second grant for the wayfinding that was
Okay.
not successful. So I wonder if it's, when you compare wayfinding, which is signage, with an actual project, I think the granting agencies may prefer to actually fund the project. Plus, the other thing is that our wayfinding citywide is very expensive. So the other thought is to phase it, do it in chunks, and maybe start with Buchanan, that we have a bicycle trail right now. And then when we do the complete streets, do it by segment. If we do the complete streets in one intersection, then we can do it. Okay, communication. I don't know if you're aware that council actually approved the complete streets plan last night. We still have to work with the merchants regarding the relocation of the bus stop, but the idea of the relocation is in the plan. I've been having conversations with them about relocating the stop about 45 feet from the crosswalk, from the intersection, and they're more amenable to that, the merchants. There is a possibility of having a nice plaza there, because it's going to be long, it's going to be like 60 feet of bulb out.
Yeah.
And in the night, in that kind of plaza, we're going to, I talked to local designers, especially, Avalon Glass, to see if we can have a nice piece, artistic piece there that is not going to be like more like a common bus shelter, but something that actually hides the fact that it's a bus stop. I don't want to say that, but I mean it's like a different bus stop. Provides some
Elevates the standard.
Right.
yeah, like that's what I want to say.
Gives us a sense of presence.
In a community and character for the city, that's what I want. So I want a piece of art for the shelter, and the shelter is like the second. It's not the important thing. It's the piece of art that could be even a piece of advertisement for the studio, for the stained glass studio. So that's an idea. Of course, this is just a concept. We don't have money for that. We need to get money for that.
I think that you have them talking about this is very commendable. I'm very impressed. It's good.
I think it's hard for people to see the concept, to actually imagine the concept without seeing anything.
Right.
And even if the plans are presented, if it's not a three-dimensional sculpture or something, a model, people actually have trouble looking at it. And also we're talking about traffic and reducing traffic congestion, so it's hard for people to actually see those things until they happen.
Any other announcements?
So this is my last Traffic and Safety Commission meeting as a commissioner. I'm stepping down in the new year. A lot of obligations. I've really enjoyed my time here. Enjoyed working with all of you. Aleda, it's always been a pleasure to work with you. I'm really excited that we have Ray in the city now, and I love his kind of let's just go out and try things attitude, not waiting around for funding. Let's just see what we can do. So I've been really excited, and I think this is a great group of people that are on the commission right now. And I don't know who's replacing me. I believe Peter Moss is who appointed me, so he will be appointing a replacement.
Well, thank you for your service. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and your ideas and expertise on city design are much appreciated.
Thank you.
And whenever you feel like providing input, please do so.
Absolutely. We hope you'll keep an eye on what we're doing.
I will.
Oh, your project's coming up, Curtis.
Oh, yeah.
And you won't have to recuse yourself.
Just in time that I can
That's
show up
right.
and I can throw out all kinds of crazy ideas.
All right, there you go.
All right.
Well, it's been great working with you, actually.
It has been.
Yeah.
It's very educational. It's been really helpful. Being newer on the commission, it helps how you share and
Thank you.
I've
just
learned a
everything
lot
you know.
from listening to you and your ideas. Thank you.
Very
Thank
much.
you.
All right. If there are no other announcements and communications, we'll move on to
Future agenda items.
future agenda items.
So I have two, well, in addition to the ones that you have here, which is the zero parking for Upper Solano in January, so continue with the concept that we have for the locations. Marine Curtis Safe Route School project initiation, actually to see something, we already initiated the project, but to see at least the plans or some concepts that the engineers or the consulting firms are actually working on. Most likely, I think it's going to be February, but it could happen in January, depending on when I get the plans. Keynes and Adams bicycle facility concept, early 2014. That's still on early 2014. I'm waiting for Alameda County CTC to actually see if we are going to get a consultant to work on this. And if we do, then we start with they will be developing the concept plans, and we're going to be working with the residents of the block of Keynes and Adams to see if we can further advance some kind of concept for the bicycle facility on Keynes and Adams. Then Buchanan Bikeway Phase 3, we did receive second set of plans for administrative review. I have several comments, and just to give you a heads up, I would like to see if with the Phase 3 we can actually implement bike boxes on the 4 legs of Solano and Marine, the intersection of Solano and Marine. I understand that Caltrans is going to replace the controllers, all of the controllers on San Pablo Avenue, so that actually we may accrue some savings on the project, because the proposal includes the controller and the software. So the exclusive bicycle signal head is going to be on the 3rd phase. And I am kind of like thinking about some reconfiguration of the actual lanes, for example, through left instead of exclusive left. But we want to revisit the modeling data, because if we do that, we might be able to do an exclusive right turn eastbound from Marine onto San Pablo, eastbound Marine onto northbound San Pablo. And if we do that, we can actually have the reconfiguration of the bike lane in between the right turn and the through lane. So that's one idea. So let's see how. Talked to Michael Moore yesterday about that. He is open and said, well, let's look at it more closely. So I'm meeting with Michael and BKF, Robert Stevens, next week. Is that next week? Yeah, on Thursday or Friday, I don't know. And also, I want to show the plans to maybe if one of you is interested in provide comments before we actually send it to the public. I want to show them in terms of bicycle facilities to Preston maybe, so he can provide additional comments before they actually present it to the public. So
Great.
just to expedite the process, otherwise we might go back and forth.
So we were asked to agendize a couple of things.
Also,
Oh,
yeah.
please, yes.
I have to, the other two items that are very pressing and that we need maybe in January are the Oakland has actually provided on-street parking for city car share spaces, I think. And then we are asking Oakland to give us some feedback on their experience for city car share. And it could be only on the commercial district, Solano and San Pablo. Maybe one to start with, given that parking is at premium here in Albany. So maybe one exclusive on-street city car share parking. So with that, they're interested, the city car share company is interested on Solano at Fresno Avenue, which is Berkeley. So Solano Avenue in Curtis, Solano Avenue near Ohlone Greenway, Solano Avenue and San Pablo Avenue, and San Pablo at Marine Avenue. So those are that might be an opportunity, San Pablo at Marine, because the demand for parking is not high, so we can actually test that. So with that, the other upcoming item is the electric vehicle charging facilities. We have an intern actually doing some research, and we would like to present it in January too. So those are basically more informational, and then the city car sharing parking might be more like, leading to an action item and recommendation to council. So that's for next year. So it's exciting, and you're gonna miss that.
I would have, if we kept it on the 24th, I would have missed it anyways. I would have had to excuse myself.
Oh, okay. That's right.
We were asked to agendize a couple of things. The 800 block of Pomona. And was that the block at the last meeting that we kind of left open for additional, there were 3 speed reports last month, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, one is on Peralta. But Peralta is going to have, is basically being started. Well, Peralta is one street where the striping of the ATP bicycle pedestrian Peralta is one facility. So for Peralta, in addition to the ATP striping, it depends on what the consultants suggest, but it could be that we're going to have the solid. One thing we can do right now is to implement slow 15 miles per hour, like we did on, I think it's Washington. We did that slow 15 miles per hour on the pavement. And maybe a solid white line right now that is 13 feet from the curve in order to actually narrow the lane. More significant changes, I think, will actually improve the safety there. It's going to be the intersection of Posen and Peralta, and the Sharrows and the bike lane that is going to be implemented by the ATP. So I think that for Peralta, we have a plan. We can, as I said, immediately we can do the slow 15 miles per hour. And then later
Okay.
we can do whatever the Fair and Pierce recommends for that. And it's an optional task to redo the redesign the intersection, but it's something that I think we can bring back to this commission, and I think it's worth pursuing. The intersection of Posen and Peralta.
And my recollection is that's the street we had left open. Because
Okay.
it was,
All right.
essentially, there were so many other things going on, we felt like we should wait and see what happens with those.
That's what I was remembering. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry I didn't exactly answer, but this is why.
No, you give me lots of information. Thank you.
Thank you.
So then there was the issue brought up by our public comment this evening about the 800 block of Pomona. And it sounded like the residents felt that they didn't get a chance to be heard.
I've been in communication with Bernard, and I actually promised a speed gun test in order to validate the 2 counts, but I haven't had time to do it. It's been very busy. And I do have right now I do have a volunteer that is helping me, and maybe I can send that person. The problem is that he can only help Fridays and Saturdays, and I want to test for maybe a Wednesday or a Tuesday. And now that the school is going to be out, I don't want to test when the school is out. I want to test when the school is back in session, which is January right now. And it's 15 minutes. Observing the data, Bernard said that the speeding occurs in the morning when the high school students start the school. The data shows that the speeding or higher speeds, actually I don't want to say speeding because it doesn't reach the speeding threshold. Higher speeds happen between 10 and 12 noon when there's no congestion. See, the problem is that between 8:15 and between 7:45 and 8, there's the school bell times, and there's a lot more cars there than any other time.
So it limits speeds.
Yeah, but people get bothered by the volume, so it may be one. As I said, maybe In the 85th percentile, outside of that 15%, maybe there's one that actually speeds when there's room to speed.
How long were the tubes down?
A week.
A week.
But you can isolate the days, actually. You can actually just isolate the weekend. You can isolate. And I provided several reports to them. Different days, different hours. They do have them. They requested to actually eliminate the cars that go below 10 miles, because I usually have from 5 miles on. And then they asked me to eliminate the 10 mile per hour. Once I did, it didn't do much. So the 85th percentile changes, but only fractions. So instead of being like maybe 26 point or 27, I don't know what it is, 27.7, it was 27.9, and things like that. So it's, so I wanted to validate the survey, but the validation with the radar gun, it's only by 15-minute segments, and I cannot be there the whole morning, and I have to do it when I think it's faster. People are driving faster. I mean, I could technically do it. Somebody can do it the whole morning, but it has to be dedicated just to do that. And it's not. I mean, people never do it like that. I mean, that's the reason for the tubes. If you want to do like a radar gun, it's only 15 minutes, 30 minutes at the most, because who's going to be like inputting the data?
So as a parting gift, I mean, I think the thing that I find interesting right now is people always come to us asking for it to do speed surveys, specifically get speed humps. And because that's the only thing we have in our arsenal that we're technically like written up, we are consistently having to say no because you don't qualify to the standards that were set. And I think it's good that we have standards and we're holding to them. It would be interesting if the commission had more options and if there was a different set of standards to understand that, okay, maybe the 85th percentile is not technically speeding, but what are the other options that the community can look at implementing to control the speeds, even if it's not technically, speeding.
Well, usually, but you have to think about usually to have consistent speeding, it has to be 30. I mean, unless we change that threshold, we can actually change it.
But,
we can say
but the threshold that we have right now is specifically for speed humps, or is it for
no?
any
It's
traffic hump?
for actually that's the threshold to determine if there's speeding.
But that's in other words, if.
So for speed humps, usually it's for traffic calming, and we can actually have even our speed humps are designed to maintain a 25 mile per hour speed.
But sorry, the standards that we have for evaluating the speeding, is that specifically only for speed humps, or is that for any kind of traffic calming? So,
Well,
I mean,
in theory, it's for any kind of traffic calming. Actually, and as I said, I mean, every city has a different approach. We can say that speeding is anybody who drives over 25 is speeding, if we want to define as that. And then almost everybody in Albany would qualify for some kind of traffic calming. We will have a capital improvement program that has to extend to 10 years, because in order to get the funding to actually apply it to every street, it's going to take significant amounts of cash. And then the other thing is that usually when for determining speed zones, or even the speed limit that is posted, you have to go within 5 mile per hour chunks, incremental or decreasing 5 miles per hour. Even people have asked me, okay, let's do speed zones by the school, but we already have a posted speed limit of 25 miles per hour. If we had, like for example, San Pablo Avenue is 30, and it's posted as 30. And the 85th percentile is over 30, is 34, I think. So then we can go a speed limit, a speed zone if there's school there, adjacent to it, or 500 feet from San Pablo.
I know at one point when I first joined the commission, Ken, you had been trying to figure out if there's a way of us getting 15-mile-per-hour zones around the schools.
There is a way, but and as I said, you have to decrease it by 5-mile chunks all the time. Right now we have 25, so in the California Vehicle Code, 25 is not considered speeding. So the justification to decrease it to 15, well, you cannot decrease it to 15 all at once according to the California Vehicle Code. You have to decrease it to 20 and then test it again, and then if there's no compliance, then do it to 15. But the rationale, the initial study should be, okay, what is the reason for the study? Because you have a 30-mile or a highway nearby, or a 30, 35-mile-per-hour zone, or that actually is adjacent to the school, or within 5 feet, I think, 500 feet from the school. So then you have a justification. Then you start decreasing by segments, by 900 feet is 25, and then the other, then you do to your 15 right in front of the school. So the motorists actually decrease the speed gradually. That's basically the story. So it's a process. We have to meet the warrants. And initially right now, since we do have everything is 25 and we don't have higher speeds like San Francisco may have or Oakland, then the justification is kind of like blurred. I think we can take it as a policy. Okay, 25 is speeding for us. As Bernard said, 25 is too fast. If we take that as a policy and then we can just say, okay, let's decrease it to 20 first, and then let's see how that goes, and then to 15.
So the general plan is a great opportunity to address that at a community-wide level. Because the other thing the general plan can address is a lot of communities that we've been working on, a lot of the general plans have started to state that the community is comfortable at certain intersections of having a level of service D or E. They almost never say F, but that they're willing to accept a certain amount of traffic congestion at an intersection because they're balancing the needs of pedestrians, bicyclists, and transit. So for instance, if something had been on the books it's a little bit complicated, but because of Caltrans. But if that had been on the books for the Marin San Pablo intersection, where currently we expanded it and we added a right turn lane and we're trying to figure out how to get a bike lane through. If something like that had been on the books, then we could open the discussion with Caltrans saying that we as a community are comfortable with that intersection functioning at a level of service D or E, which meant that things that I was fighting for, which was like not adding a right turn lane, because I feel that is actually an impediment to pedestrians using that intersection, can get taken into account. It's not that Caltrans is going to necessarily accept that because they are looking at a bigger picture, but it is something that could be considered.
Well, that's the general plan. I mean, are we gonna? There is a level of service maximum, I guess, a minimum, so we can actually, or a minimum level of service that we would accept, that we can change that.
Yeah.
I think in the general plan we can address some kind of like 25 miles per hour might be too much, too fast.
Can I ask a question? Are we off the agenda topic? Isn't the agenda topic what the agenda
Sorry.
topics might be?
Yeah, I think it's not for discussion though, so. Thank you for the
Sorry.
reminder.
I've been letting it go because I've been interested, but we certainly haven't been
That
taking
was,
any action.
sorry, I'll qualify that. That was an update on a future agenda item that you all might consider talking about the general plan.
It is for Pomona, and I was giving you a background on the speed survey.
This was getting a little out there.
Yeah, it's too long, it's too long. I mean, I agree. So maybe I'll do the background next month when we discuss it, or in February, whatever.
So I think what started this was I brought up, or was about to bring up the 800 block of Pomona. And I guess my question is, did the residents get noticed that
We don't, okay, so I gave, usually what I do is when a street does not qualify, I just send the information to the person who requested it, which I did for Bernard. I said, I'm sorry, but the speed survey did not show that you have consistent speed according to the policy we have. And he expected that. And then he was asking me for actually I suggested the speed gun, and I said, because he said that when people saw the houses, they slowed down. And I said, okay, let's validate this, because, my experience is that.
Okay, I think we're getting off again.
No, basically what I said, we validate the speed survey, because according to my experience is that we validate.
Right.
Is your plan still to try and get someone to do a speed survey? So if that happens, then it could be agendized and come back to us.
Yeah, that's
Or
what.
you.
And I
The
promised
speed
to do
gun,
it, but
the
I.
gun. Radar gun.
The
The
results
speed
of
gun,
that.
the speed
Yes.
gun.
I just want to make sure, we had 2 or 3 people show up tonight who expected, I think, to talk about that. I had one gentleman come to me individually who,
We can agendize it. I'll let you know if we, and I'll put it there if I have I'll do it or somebody else.
I'm
does.
happy to wait for the next step, but there's some,
I don't notify the block if we don't, notifying the block is a lot of effort. And, I'm not here anymore. I'm not at the community development where Ansu is very, knowledgeable about the software. I'm somewhere else where there's a problem for everything. So, the administrative support is.
I'm not sure it required, the notifying the block
But I
is
notified
required.
Bernard and I
You
said,
notified
you
Bernard.
don't qualify. What I can do is I offer to do the radar gun survey to validate the speed survey, the host count in survey. But I failed to do it because I don't have time, really. And because I was thinking that if I do it by the school time, it's not gonna do any good. I have to be there at 10:30 or something like that, and start with park my car and start like doing it.
Okay.
But this month is a report month, so it's.
So my understanding was that the radar gun was something that actually citizens could come in and request to borrow. So could we perhaps engage Bernard in trying to at least do
He can do it.
some of the survey, at least?
Yeah, he can do it.
I'm just trying to think of ways of
Speeding up the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking also of asking the police department to do it, but then it is a police department. No, it's not gonna happen. So maybe use another car, and not a uniform officer. But they can do it too. So
Okay.
it's been hectic. So it's been back and forth with the reports of Measure B. So.
Excuse me. That's all I had to bring
He
up.
also was on vacation for a week and then lost communication. So it's been.
Are there any other proposed agenda items? With that, then, I will adjourn the meeting.